What is up, y'all? I wanted to talk about stress today because I know a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people like to believe that stress is necessary to live, and I kind of feel like it's bull. You know, it shouldn't. Stress shouldn't be a thing that everyone has to deal with. Yeah, stress shouldn't be a thing that everyone has to deal with. You know, I believe people believe that stress is necessary to live in this life, right? Like I have to stress about this, or else how would it get done? And a question I was talking to my mom the other day, and I was talking to her about the same thing. I was like, well, why do you keep stressing? You know, why do you keep stressing yourself? And of course, there was pushback. There was a little bit of discussion. But I pretty much broke it down to like, the reason why we stress is because we're trying to control something we can't control. We're describing something that might happen in the future. We're describing something that happened in the past. And so we're stressed out. We're living in our head. And that's why the title of the video is Stress Isn't Real. Because yes, people deal with it. Yes, it's a problem a lot of people have. But once we realize that stress really isn't a real thing to worry about, like those things we're stressing about, we don't need to worry about. It become, you know, there's no more power to it. There's no more life to stress because it isn't real. And now, of course, I'm sure you watching this probably already typing up a storm. Again, I know there's bills. I know there's things you need to take care of, responsibilities. But the same way you stressed about that, the same responsibilities last month, last year, 6 months ago, and the fact that you're still here today, living, isn't that just proof that everything magically works out of nowhere? You know, all those stresses really, there's no point of stressing because you end up somehow, some way, you just figure out a way to make up the money, or you figure out a way to create that good relationship again. Or whatever happens, you end up getting closer to yourself, bettering yourself. So all those times where you are stressing, it magically gets fixed, and the stress wasn't really necessary. But we don't realize that the stress was necessary because then we continue to look for more things to stress about. We continue to go back in our head and analyze and try to predict and reason what might happen, or what could have happened, or I should have done this, or I should have done that. And ultimately, we end up just living in a world that isn't real. You know, a lot of people are so warped, like, oh, I got bills coming up. I gotta feed my family. And I know, obviously, this is probably speaking to an older audience, people who are my age. There's future. You know, I used to stress about my future all the time. I used to worry about whether or not this is gonna work, or this business model is gonna work, or what my parents are gonna think, how am I gonna make money for the week to even just live by myself, like, you know, afford gas and food, etc. And I mean, it's still the same stress, you know. Of course, maybe our stress isn't as bad, you could say, but I believe all stress is the same. Whether or not you're worried about taking care of a family, or taking care of yourself, or even just like a competition next week, you know? Because we're all worried about something that isn't even real yet. We're all assuming the worst outcome. We're all like, well, I created this in myself, I promise you, but I was kind of having a little discussion inside my head of what people would say if I were to say, why is it that we always prepare for the worst? And an average person would be like, well, then if we prepare for the worst, then the worst won't happen. Or if the worst happens, then we'll be prepared for it, right? That's what it means. But I always kind of counter it. I'm like, then why don't we just prepare for the best, you know? If you prepare for the worst, then you're not leaving any room for the best to happen. So you're just wanting the worst to happen. If all your focus, all your attention, every single day you're living in that reality of the worst possible outcome, you're going to continue bringing that worst possible outcome towards you because that's all you think about. I always like this analogy, or this sort of game I like to play. It's like where your focus goes, energy flows. I'm outside right now, so there's a lot of colors around me, but if you're in your room, it may not be too many colors. But real quick, look around your room and look for everything that is green. If there's nothing green, I'm sorry, but continue just looking for something that's green. Just point out everything. Maybe outside there's trees or stuff like that. All right? Now close your eyes and tell me everything that you saw that is red. Now, obviously, if you aren't cheating, you only saw the green things and you didn't see any of the red things. Now open your eyes and look around and see all the red things around you, if there is any. Obviously, if there isn't any, then hopefully you get what I'm trying to say here in a couple seconds. When we focus on the green things, it's kind of counterintuitive. It's kind of, I use the wrong colors, but green is bad for this example. When we focus on the bad things, all we see is the bad things around us. But and then automatically all the red things, the good things, they just go invisible. We didn't pay any attention to the red things, and all we saw was all that green. And so we continue to bring more attraction. We continue to put more energy into the green things instead of putting more energy into the red things so the green things can disappear. There won't be any more stresses because we just automatically have faith that God will take care of everything. We have trust that His plan is perfect. And it's this knowingness inside of us that everything's going to be taken care of. And so there's no more stress. There's no more worrying about what if, what could, what might. It's just what is. And yes, this comes heavily with having a relationship with God. You need to have a relationship with God in order for you to stop living in your head, stop living in this different reality that doesn't exist. You know, in order to feel peace, you must be aligned with God. You must have a relationship with God. And I'm not here just as those people who promote Him and say this and that. And, like, I truly mean it. Like, you need to have a relationship with God, or else you won't find peace. You'll continue believing that you need to do this, you need to acquire that, you need to get this, you need to get that in order to feel peace. But peace is never found with anything. Nothing. You can't feel anything by getting something external. You must feel it within. And everything is found within because I believe Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, God, whatever you want to believe in, is within you. And so there's nothing else you need. God is everything. God is everything and anything in this world. So there's not necessarily anything that I need in order to feel something. And trust me, this is a lot more difficult than it seems. And I make it sound so easy, but I've faced these challenges every single day. I'm still working at this moment. I have work today, actually. And there are times where I just fight with myself internally. I'm like, man, I do not want to work, or I just hate working. I just don't want to, I don't know why I'm here. Why am I working? Just all those negative little narratives, inside my head of playing, I shouldn't be here. This is BS. This is a waste of my time. I'm surrounded by etc. Just a bunch of negative things. But then I was literally yesterday, probably one of my most breakthrough moments. I was in my car and I was again thinking about my job, and I was like, man, I got scheduled again. I'm not trying to work, da 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 da. And then I sat there. I'm driving home from soccer practice. I was coaching, and I was like, if I don't feel freedom and peace now with everything I have, then when I get the things I want, the business, the cars, the house, the vacation, that financial freedom, I won't feel any freedom within because I'll always be searching for more. And you might be wondering, well, there's no way. If I have all the money in the world, then how am I gonna ever want any more? If I have all this money, sorry, let me explain it a little better. Me, who isn't financially free, how is this person gonna feel the same freedom this person feels who is financially free? And I want you guys to understand that nothing external can make you feel anything inside. It's all just found within. And I know it might be hard to sort of grasp because, yes, money is a tool for you to use, and honestly, yes, it does create some freedom. Because again, if I didn't have to worry about money, I wouldn't have to go to work, or yeah, pretty much. And I'd be on my own schedule. But you hear it all the time. Millionaires, they still stress about the same things you're stressing about. They still worry about the same things you worry, but they still have all those realities built up inside their head, but they just have it all covered up by money. They believe if I get more and more money, all these problems will go away. Have you ever heard the saying, more money, more problems? It's the same sort of thing. Where this person who isn't financially free is going to be the same person who is financially free in the long run if they don't change how they feel within them, how they see themselves, or how they feel within. If you still feel give an example. Everybody knows The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I watched an interview probably a couple months ago now, and in the interview he was talking about how every single week he still has that same fear from when he was 21, let's say, when he got cut from like that semi-pro football team. I remember this because it was like, it struck me. He's a multimillionaire, stars in a couple really good movies, Jumanji, Moana, etc. He's a multimillionaire flying a private jet, and he's worrying about to make sure he's still stable for next week. He's still good for next week because he's scared he's gonna go back to that old self where when he got cut from that football team, he had like $7 in an account and a couple cents. He remembered that picture so vividly. He still feels that poverty inside. He still feels that, not that worth, like that self-worth within. He doesn't feel that. And that's what drives a lot of people insane. A lot of people are like, I have all the money, I have the physique, I have the relationship, I have everything a man would want. Why do I not feel any different? And it's because you don't feel any different within. It's because you haven't truly let go of the fact that money is just money. It's not a thing of freedom. We attach things to money. We attach the freedom. We attach the abundance. We attach the happiness, the love. But in reality, money doesn't bring that, and so we continue to chase more and more, thinking we'll finally get it. But as soon as we acquire everything we want, we realize we're still empty inside, because that money doesn't bring freedom. That money doesn't bring any peace. And I thought it was so interesting that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, multi-millionaire, great physique, big, like crazy influencer, you influence millions of lives, right? Is struggling with the same problems I'm struggling with when it comes to how am I gonna make food, how am I gonna make money for next week, how am I gonna provide for my family, well, how's my future gonna look like, what's gonna happen next week. He's on a humanistic, more, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, on this random scale that I just created. He's up here, I'm down here. When it comes to financial, when it comes to physique, you could say, when it comes to just like the worldly, materialistic gains. Up here, I'm down here. But we still struggle with the same problems. We still struggle with the same stress. And it's like, if I can feel that abundance, that freedom, that peace now, once everything comes, because in God's plan, I promise you, just have faith, everything will come to you. Everything you want is already found within. If you align yourself with that frequency of abundance, of freedom, of peace, you will bring that towards you. I promise you, and I'm here to be living proof. I am continually surrendering. I'm continually getting into this frequency. So if you don't believe it, at least stick with me and you can watch it happen. So I forgot what I was saying. I'm so sorry if I messed this up. Once you align yourself with that freedom and peace now, you'll attract the thing that you want. There won't be anything you need in order to feel something, and so you'll be okay with where you're at. Of course, if you're not in a desirable spot, where like for instance for me, if I'm still working, I don't want to be working like for the rest of my life, so of course there's some resistance or there's some sort of friction. But I have to learn to let go of that friction. I gotta learn to just be at peace with where I'm at. And then eventually this job will go away and I'll begin to live the life I've always meant to live, the one I've been destined to live. Coaching you guys, giving out value, living abroad. And I'm excited, I feel as if I'm not that person already. I feel like that person is free. I feel like that person gives off information genuinely from the heart. And I believe I'm embodying that person as much as I can. And so yeah, there won't be any needing for something external to feel something inside. It would just be, I'm that person now. I feel these emotions now. I'm okay with where I'm at. And the same way Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson worries and stresses every single week about how he's gonna make the same amount of money, if not more, the next week, and he ends up still doing it. It just goes to show that everything's just an illusion. Everything's just fake. Like, no matter what, everything gets taken care of. If he loses a couple grand, he's gonna be all right, Same thing with me. Obviously, I don't have millions yet, but it's the same gist. I might be low for the moment, but I will bounce back. That's from J. Cole, For Your Eyes Only. That's crazy knowledge if y'all know about that. It's just I'm at a low point at that point, and then I just have faith, knowingness, and wholeness that I will bounce back. Everything's gonna be all right. And every single week, I somehow make more. There was a time, I'm gonna give you guys this quick little story. First 2-3 months, I think it was first 2 months of this year, 2025. It was snowing like crazy. I had no work. Literally, I couldn't coach either because the fields were all plowed in snow. And so I had no money coming in. A good month, almost 2. And money was running short. I was like, man, I'm low-key draining through my account right now, because at the point I had a couple saved up. And obviously Christmas was just there too, so I had a little bit, but I was draining through my money, and I was getting worried. I was getting so worked up. I was like, how am I gonna afford to live? Stressing about a reality that isn't true. Stressing in reality that isn't even real. Worrying about something, worrying about the green, quote unquote, the bad stuff. Focusing my attention on the bad outcome. Okay, and so later down the line, I'm telling you, no trainings, no work, nothing. Maybe one. I don't think I worked a day for like 2 months. It was that bad. During that time, I had no money, and at the same time, I was just working on myself, reading books, meditating, learning about all this stuff. And I was like, man, I'm gonna open up one-on-one coaching. Why not? I'm just gonna say it, see if I can get anybody. First week, no. Second week, no. Third week, I was like, you know what? I let go. I know God's my creator. He will provide for me. That week, I closed my first one-on-one paid client for about $350. Pretty sure it was $350. Or like $250, $300. I think it was $300 actually. The coach I got for a month, and that sufficed. That kept me going for another month or two until I started working again. Still, I started getting everything done. And I always use that as proof. It's like, no matter what, I'm gonna be taken care of. No matter what, something's gonna come through. So whether I'm working, whether I'm coaching, whether I get a client or get the community popping, it's all gonna work in my favor. Everything's happening for me. And so if I continually just to surrender the fact that I'm working, or the fact that I don't mind coaching soccer, but at a certain point in time, I want to stop and just focus on this forever. So there will be a time where that comes. It's destined. It's already done. It's already done within. I'm just walking through the journey of it happening, and you guys get to see it firsthand. You guys get to see, I'm not going to say a birth of a legend, but you know, like the real and authentic walking steps of how it is to become an entrepreneur, you know. And I believe that's the rich part, and I hope maybe in a couple years this pops up and it's like, oh my God, David was in the same situation I was in, and look at him now. Who knows? Yeah, that's all I got for the video. I went really, really deep. I love this video, honestly. These last couple of videos, I haven't really been too logged in, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been able to flow as easily. Today I flowed like crazy, so hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and God bless.